entirely dependent on supplies and reinforcements being ferried across the Volga from the east bank to the west. Stalingrad looked easy prey for Paulus. Paulus's plan for a ground assault targeted two key landmarks in the city. The central landing stage, where the Red Army unloaded their supplies, and this prominent hill, Mamayev Kurgan. It was the city's highest point. If Paulus could capture this, his guns would have the river and most of Stalingrad in their sights. You can see at a glance how vital this hill is. Commanding the city as it does, right the way along the Volga River, from the industrial area behind me down to the city centre right there. At dawn on the 14th of September, just 2 weeks after the Luftwaffe air raids, Paulus put his plan into action. The city shuddered from the ferocity of the onslaught. And with each passing hour, the Soviets were rapidly losing control. In little over 24 hours, German forces had stormed the southern part of the city. The main railway station was in their control, and the landing stage was surrounded and under heavy fire. Mamayev Kurgan, the city's highest point, was also under attack from the Germans.
The main Soviet force defending the city was the 62nd Army, but it had been battered by air raids and was having difficulty holding off the German attacks. Its men were outnumbered, exhausted, and dispirited.
But what they did have was a tough new commander. His name, General Vasily Chuikov. He was chosen for being a dogged and instinctive fighter with an almost unshakable nerve. But he knew his troops inside the city were on the verge of collapse. Chuikov's only hope of preventing the immediate fall of Stalingrad lay on the opposite bank of the River Volga.
Here on the east bank, there were 10,000 Soviet reinforcements preparing to enter the city. They were elite troops, but they were short of ammunition, and 1 in 10 of them didn't even have a rifle. Nevertheless, at 7 p.m., they received orders to cross. Heavy German artillery fire rained down on the boats crossing the river. The water soon filled with burning debris and floating human remains. As the troops neared the shore, the scale of the devastation would have become clear. They would even have been able to smell the stench of corpses rotting in the summer heat. But there was no chance of turning back.
Chuikov's reinforcements were thrown straight into the heart of the battle. Some stormed the shore and secured the landing stage. From there, they moved quickly through the streets in order to retake the main railway station. Others joined the battle for Mamayev Kurgan, where the fighting was increasingly ferocious.
Artillery fire had turned this whole hilltop into a moonscape of blackened craters. It was also deafeningly noisy. One Russian soldier compared it to having steel needles pushed through his eardrums into his brain. Bodies of the dead and wounded lay everywhere throughout the city.
we're often sent into battle armed with nothing but our bare hands. And this is happening not just to our division, but to others too. People, hungry and exhausted, launch into battle with bare hands. That's how we are fighting. Things are bad.
Despite all this, the reinforcements held up the German advance, at least for the time being. But it came at a terrible cost. 80% of those Soviet reinforcements were killed or wounded within a week.
Chuikov had averted a disaster, and he'd also sent Paulus a clear message. Stalingrad would be defended no matter what the human cost. But Chuikov knew that if he was to hold on, he'd have to go further. He'd have to find some weakness in the seemingly invincible German army. The German military tactics, which had been so effective in the war across Europe, relied on carefully coordinated attacks from aircraft of the German Luftwaffe and tanks on the ground. In wide open territory, this combination had made the Germans unstoppable. But the fight for Stalingrad was now confined to the streets of a ruined city. Chuikov realized this gave him a chance to outsmart the German tactics. Chuikov told his men to stick so close to the Germans, the Luftwaffe couldn't bomb them without fear of hitting its own men. What's more, the streets were so full of rubble and collapsed buildings that the German tanks found it difficult to maneuver. They were particularly vulnerable fighting at close quarters. Chuikov said, "Every German must be made to feel he lives under the muzzle of a Russian gun."
Our troops are often separated from the enemy by only a few dozen meters. While the enemy holds one part of the building, we hold another. It often comes to hand-to-hand fighting. The hand grenade, the bottle of incendiary fluid, the bayonet. Such are the weapons which are often used in street and house-to-house fighting.
The Soviet troops did their best. But the Germans' overwhelming firepower was still too much for them. On the 26th of September, the Germans declared that they controlled the entire south and center of the city. But Chuikov's troops still stubbornly refused to give in. And now, hiding in the ruins of the city, they found a new way to strike back at the Germans. Snipers were an invisible predator that could kill without warning.
To find out more about why snipers were so effective in Stalingrad, Dan and I went to the British Army's Sniper Training Centre in Wales. I would take on the role of a German commander, and Dan would be part of a Soviet sniper team.
What we have set up here, Peter, is your headquarters, and it would be far enough back from the front line to provide you with some limited protection, but it would be close enough for you to influence the battle.
My headquarters also had radio operators working inside, and a machine gunner to protect me. The task for Dan and his sniper team was to disable the headquarters, either by shooting me or my team. In this exercise, it would count as a hit if the sniper could identify the letter written on my helmet and then fire a blank round. We also gave a letter to the machine gun sentry. So the targets were Q, Quebec, and D, Delta.
A sniper's first job is to find a hiding place from where they can fire at the enemy.
So what are you seeing, Dean? Anything suspicious?
Not yet. Keep looking, hopefully we'll be able to locate anyone that's out there, any suspicious movement.
It could be anywhere. If there's
Absolutely.
a sniper in there, it could be anywhere.
Yep.
It would have been extremely difficult in a large city that's been so devastated like Stalingrad to identify a sniper moving around and in position.
We'd managed to get into our building without being spotted, but to stay hidden, we had to change our camouflage to blend in with the new environment, just like the snipers in Stalingrad.
They would have something just like this, so they would get different colours of paint, mud, dirt, and just paint the whole thing up. Bearing in mind, all the contacts, all the firing was at really short distance, so the better they could blend in, the better for them if they had been detected.
Our plan was that rather than attacking the front, we would cover the rear exit from the headquarters.
Piece of rifle. Okay, you can see straight through there. That is a target area. That looks to be like a HQ.
It was now just a question of sitting and waiting, but without losing my concentration.
As I'm sitting here, I'm realising that one of the real challenges to being a sniper is maintaining that focus, and the guys at Stalingrad would be doing that for a day or even longer. And you just don't know when the target's going to appear. And as a result, you've got to be, your nerves are on edge the whole time.
While we kept watch at the back, two more snipers, the rest of our team, climbed into position in a small building directly in front of the headquarters.
But if they were in one of these buildings, they'd be using the shadow inside the building to hide themselves, set back from the window, nice and still.
The team at the front were now in position. They decided to attack the machine gunner because he was the most immediate threat.
Okay, enemy on target.
Same.
Delta.
Wait.
If he's a reasonably trained sniper who's well practiced, you would pretty much guarantee a hit with the first round.
Range 225 metres.
You should be able to achieve a shot onto your centre of mass at approximately 900 metres.
900 metres?
900 metres.
Shot from chest ahead.
Send it.
What's that?
Delta.
Target down.
We've got to move.
Delta confirm kill.
Inside the building, I thought I would be safe from the snipers.
Right.
Well, we knew he was out there somewhere.
Confirm 1 kill. Delta is down. All other call signs moved into the building.
With our target inside the building, we decided to use a tactic used by snipers in Stalingrad. We called in artillery fire onto his headquarters to force him out into the open.
Hi Zero, this is 20 Delta. All call signs in building. Request Alpha 1 Alpha. Fires X-ray 001 5 now, over.
Now they're shooting at us. Artillery.
Right, I see artillery going in now. So you should push them out to the back.
It would only be a matter of time before we got a direct hit from the mortars onto this location. We've got to move.
Okay. We decided to move to our vehicle at the back of the building.